breaking in less than 24 hours. Yes, you're hearing it here on the mix. In less than 24 hours, Diddy and Cassie has reached a financial undisclosed settlement. Now let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome to the mix. Like, share, subscribe per usual. Thank you guys for tuning in, those domestically and internationally. What I need for you guys to do is listen to this video. Yes, listen to this video from beginning to end. Thank you very much. There are polls going on in the community section per usual as well. So head on over there and vote. Now, let me jump right into the topic. Wow, woo! As you can see what this video is going to be about, that was quick. Less than 24 hours. And today is Saturday, you guys, and this was trending last night, late on X, formerly known as Twitter. Yes, Diddy and Cassie has reached an undisclosed settlement. And I'm going to go ahead and share a couple screens with you guys. But before I do that, I did a couple topics before on Jay-Z and Beyonce, their age gap, also Marcus Houston and his lady and their his current wife, excuse me, because Jay-Z and Beyonce are married. Marcus Houston, and I think that's Marcus Houston, yeah, and his wife is currently married, and I did topics on these. But you see, Diddy and Cassie age gap was huge as well. So I'm going with this, you guys, is that I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but I'm going to also share X with you all, really known as Twitter, because again, this was trending last night, and I was debating on if I was going to cover this when it first dropped, in terms of reading that. I think the complaint was like about 50 pages. I did not download it or anything. For those who do not know, I do have a legal background, and I've in some of my legal classes, especially when it came to criminal law, civil law, constitutional law, research and writing, legal research and writing, I had to read a lot of civil complaints and criminal complaints. But what I did, you guys, was stayed away from cases like anything that had to do with like kids and family domestic issues. I tried to stay away from those type of cases because that was part of the class, obviously, because it just was triggering to me. I don't know, to each his own, it's just triggering to me. Even reading Mr. Robert Kelly's appeals case from New York, that was triggering for me. And his attorney had to, of course, draft the appeal and touch on all the alleged facts that was laid out by the opposing side. So that was really tough, because what they were citing in the appeal brief, it just was uncomfortable to read. And I think I touched on that in the video when I did my video on Mr. Robert Kelly. It's just, I don't know, to each his own, but I don't like really reading stuff like that. It just makes me uncomfortable. It's borderline triggering. It is triggering for me. So when it comes to the Cassie situation, I did not read the 50-page, I think it was 50-page civil complaints, but I did listen and tune in to certain different YouTube channels. I read some excerpts from an article, and I just couldn't read anymore, and I just couldn't really listen anymore. It's just extremely graphic. And to my understanding, that 50-page complaint that Cassie filed, civil complaint that Cassie filed originally against Diddy, her attorneys, they have a warning, and that's my first time ever seeing it that way. So you might see this moving forward when it comes to these legal cases, when it comes to civil complaints, when it comes to affidavits and depositions on these type of legal type of documents, or even criminal complaints. If it has a topic when it comes to you know what I'm getting at. Gotta be careful with YouTube. The R topic, the SA abuse topic. Cassie's attorneys may have set a precedence, or maybe it was the county who did that once they filed it, and they had a warning on it. They had a warning. I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys. But yeah, topics like this, like I said, I was debating like back and forth with myself, like, should I go ahead and cover this? It's really triggering for me. And then when I heard what was laid out, the alleged facts that was laid out in this 50-page civil complaint against Diddy, what he did allegedly to Cassie over 10 years of her being his artist, and quote unquote girlfriend. It seems forcibly she was his girlfriend, or in my opinion, based off of what was being cited and read by someone else coming from the complaint. Wow, it's just, whoo, sheesh, I just couldn't. I'm like, I was incredibly disgusted. So let me go ahead and head on over to the New York Times. I'm citing the New York Times because this case, honestly, it broke through mainstream media, and a lot of people on internet streets they have been seeing that, different opinions. Like, man, I'm glad that it broke through mainstream media as opposed to like a YouTuber or a blogger or these, different small level, they calling it that, media platforms. It did break through the New York Times and the New York Post and these dream major media outlets, the original stuff, and it hits mainstream media news. But voila, woo! Less than 24 hours, Diddy said, And I'm going to tell you guys why, in my opinion, I believe Diddy settled, that this was settled like this. Diddy said, y'all ain't gonna have a field day with my life over the weekend, especially you content creators. Take that. Here, Cassie. Here. So Diddy, P. Diddy, brother love, he's in the brother love era. I think he's trying to possibly right his wrongs. I don't know. I'm gonna touch more on that too, because those who do not know, I'm from that era. So you probably know where I'm coming from age-wise, but I'm from that Tupac era, that Diddy era, the DMX era, the KRS-Ones, all of them, those guys, that hip-hop era from the mid-90s. And back then, hip-hop wasn't as broad, on a broad scale. So just imagine, you got Jay-Z them coming to your hood, kicking it with the D-Boys, allegedly, in certain areas, whether it be Detroit, whether it be Chicago, whether it be parts of New York or whatever. Back then, urban areas kind of like stuck together. Have them coming to Chicago, kicking it with R. Kelly, kicking it with, DMX stayed at R. Kelly studio. I've had a couple people I knew in the past basically saying that how they'll go to R. Kelly studio, it'd be a lot of different people. It was just a vibe back then, and that was just how artists and urban artists kicked it. When you think about the Jay-Z's, when you think about the Diddy's, when you think about the Biggies and the Tupacs, and when you think about points. So that's how they kicked it back then, when they would go to different hoods, or if they have these concerts, everybody in the hood go to these concerts because music was our outlet, and that was that. Those artists back then was not super rich. They were not. They get all the money to record labels. So the artists started to become more wiser. Also, the Jermaine Dupri's, and you would have people kicking it backstage. It wasn't like, oh, you need a backstage pass to be here, there, whatever. It was kind of like, if you know somebody, if the girls was cute and this and that. That's how it was, that vibe, that era back then, in the mid 90s. So yeah, so let me go ahead and share this article, and then I'll come back with more of my commentary, reaction, opinion. I'm also going to navigate and pivot over to X, formerly known as Twitter, because it was on fire last night. But less than 24 hours, yes, Diddy said, take that, Cassie, take it. I'm brother love now. I have a new life. That's where I'm thinking that Diddy probably consulted his family. You know what I'm saying? Even read the article of the New York Times. While I think Diddy settled, I promise you, in my opinion, he probably settled because of his. Look at how many kids he has now. He has daughters, and he has a new baby. His daughters, his family, I bet, and then sending his mom, Miss Janice Combs, through, because Miss Janice Combs gonna show up at court with him. Miss Janice Combs was showing up at court with him back then when he was in a court case early in the 2000s or whatever, when his artist stand-in and it's allegedly took the charge. So yeah, back then, y'all Google all of that, because I come from that era. That's when we didn't have social media. We had the Source magazine, the Vibe magazine. We had all these different print magazines. The mainstream media covered certain things here and there, not a lot of hip hop. We had MTV, BET, 106 and Park, all of that, and it wasn't like a huge pool of media outlet sources that we used, you know what I'm saying? Because back then, it wasn't fully accepted. It had started to become accepted, especially when you think about the crossover artists like Justin Bieber, Eminem, that Caucasian white guy on Death Row Records, don't listen to John B, So, but yeah, crossover. When I say crossover, meaning that they're being more accepted and going to some of the award shows, and even back then they wasn't really invited to the big major award shows like that. It was just a pool of them. I mean, you had like the mainstream artists like the Michael Jacksons, the Whitney Houstons. Yeah, they were pretty accepted. You had Brandy. Yeah, she was pretty accepted. You know what I'm saying? But the rappers, mm-mm-mm. But let me go ahead and share this article, and then I'll come back. Okay, you guys, and again, this is a sensitive topic. This is the New York Times article, and it was posted because today is the 18th of November. It's early morning, early Saturday morning for me, you guys. Have to be careful due to, YouTube algorithm, especially topics like this and verbiage and words like this. I promise you, it's just, this space is, I'm not gonna, oh gosh, they are big on censor it. Cassie settles lawsuits accusing Sean Combs of RA and AB. The R&B singer Cassandra Ventura, that's her government name, but we all call her Cassie. That's her stage name. And the music mogul did not disclose terms of the settlement, which came one day after Miss Ventura filed an explosive complaint, meaning that was a civil complaint, not a criminal complaint, you guys. It was a civil. Civil means money, 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 money. And a lot of people saying, oh, the civil is usually filed first. No, usually it's the criminal complaint and then the civil follows. But nowadays, to my understanding, you can do both simultaneously. Civil and criminal. It could be a criminal investigation. It could be a civil case going on and a criminal investigation launched based off the civil. Okay, according to, what's this guy name? By Ben Cesario. This was posted November 17th, last night. Sean Combs and the singer Cassie have reached a settlement just one day after she filed an explosive lawsuit accusing a hip-hop mogul of R and numerous instances of physical AB. The parties announced on Friday evening that they have reached an agreement to resolve the case, though they disclose no details about the terms of the settlement, and they won't. I bet you it's a closed settlement, meaning ironclad locked, and it probably won't even be exposed in the future to the public unless they Bill Cosby him, because that's what happened with Bill Cosby. They went back and a judge approved that the settlement, the civil settlement that Bill Cosby did, can be reopened. So hopefully that doesn't happen in this case, because the way the justice system is working in the country, is they picking and choosing, they cherry picking, and they making up, and they moving the goalposts. And to me, I think that's unconstitutional. What happened to Mr. Bill Cosby was unconstitutional. I'm not here to argue Mr. Cosby's guilt or innocent. I'm just speaking facts from a legal perspective. To me, that is unconstitutional. I don't think that had ever happened. A sitting judge allowed mind you, look at Diddy, an undisclosed settlement. They reached it. It's signed off by a judge. This is what happened with Mr. Bill Cosby. Somebody else come in, another judge, and say, hey, reopen that. It's approved. I want to reopen that settlement and see what was in there. Something like that. So it's similar to that. But hopefully that doesn't happen in this, because honestly, in my opinion, regardless if Diddy did this or not, which I'm inclined to think, if they said he did that ish, he did that ish, allegedly. So it would be unconstitutional. Even if someone did something and is caught red-handed, and I went over this, you guys, in a lot of legal related videos I've done in the past, celebrities and non-celebrities, you have to have its color inside the lines. It's ethics in this legal community. From prosecutors to law enforcement officers to private attorneys to judges, it's ethics. You have to, when I say color inside the lines, I mean follow the rules. They supposed to. Do they do that? Absolutely not. And that's when you have a chance, or whoever it has been convicted of whatever, or who has lost the civil case, that's when they have a chance to appeal, because of either a prosecutor was moving funny or wrong, the police was moving funny or wrong, the judge had ethical issues, all of that. That's when an appeal, technical appeal, could be brought on the books, opened, and because of your constitutional rights being violated. So even if you did what you did, and this is, and I'm not speaking about Diddy now, I'm just speaking in general. If somebody actually, like I said before in one of my videos, if somebody actually had robbed a bank or whatever, and it's caught on camera, and the police come up and then read them their Miranda rights, they could get off, or possibly, or the police just took the footage from a local store, or the person robbing a bank and this and that. They can have that removed, or that could interfere with the whole case. Or if it still goes through, they could set the person up for an appeal where a person, although they committed probably red-handed that particular crime, the case could be overturned by a higher court. So you have to color inside the lines. Yes, those can be technicalities, but everyone, whether you did something or not, you have a constitutional right to a fair trial, to a fair prosecution. All of that. That's the law. It should be applied to everybody. I'm just saying. You can't pick and choose now, y'all. You can't pick and choose. So this article further cites the parties announced on Friday evening, told you guys, that they have reached an agreement to resolve the case, though they disclose no details about the terms of the settlement, and they won't. It's probably a gag order, ironclad gag order. I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control, Cassie, whose full name is Cassandra Ventura, said in his statement. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support. In a statement, Mr. Combs said, we have decided to resolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best love. For Mr. Combs, the settlement quickly shuts down what could have been a risky and potentially embarrassing process of legal discovery in which reams of evidence are made public in a possible trial. And Ms. Ventura, who has already aired her accusations through a public complaint, avoids a cross-examination by Mr. Combs' attorney. Also, that drew international attention. Ms. Ventura, who signed to Mr. Combs' Bad Boy label in 2005 when she was 19 and dated him for about a decade, and mind you, Diddy was about 37 years old, accused Mr. Combs of what she said, and that was back then. You know, of course, he's over 50 now. Accused Mr. Combs of what she said would BEATING, controlling behavior in various forms of SA involving RA. In response, a lawyer for Mr. Combs, Ben Braffman, said Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. According to Ms. Ventura's suit, which was filed on Thursday in federal district court in Manhattan, Combs asked her numerous times, leaving her BLOODIED and BRUISED. She said his employees sometimes took her to hotels rooms for days to recover out of the public eye. In one of the suit's most disturbing allegations, Ms. Ventura said that for years she was forced to participate in SE encounters with a succession of male prostitutes as Mr. Combs watched and played with himself, if you get my point, and recorded the video. So yes, this was what I had read too from another article. Shout out to Milagro Graham. I do listen to her faithfully. I be looking for her on YouTube. I shout out to her. So I listened to her show and she read the entire civil complaint. And yes, so Mr. Combs, yes, it was alleged in that civil complaint that he would have Cassie participating in these escapades, if you get my point, escapades, male courts, I'm gonna say that. And so basically she was allegedly forced to be with these men, and they wore masks while he sat back and watched and played games with himself, if you get my points, and recorded it. Like, this could go on for 2, 3, 4 days. Woo! For days, allegedly, in that civil complaint. Into the suit, Mr. Combs called these events freak-offs, and they took place in a number of high-end hotels throughout the United States. According to Ms. Ventura's suits, Mr. Combs controlled nearly every aspect of her life, paying for her homes, car, clothes, and other necessities, and even had access to her personal medical records. That disgusted me when it's like, what? He was like, in my opinion, based off of the article and that complaint, what was read in that complaint, it seems like when she was 19, in my opinion, you're still young and impressionable and all of that. It's like he took on the role of being her father or her parent in a weird, twisted way, but was her boss, you know, because he was over her. He was her artist, so that was her boss, and also her quote unquote boyfriend or man. So it's like, to me, she met him at 19. He was 30 something years old. They say your mind is not fully developed until, I guess, you're around 21. I don't know. But to me, she was still naive, young, impressionable, and she was an artist. And Diddy pursued her. He pursued her. Let's get this straight. She didn't pursue him. He pursued her. So yeah, just like to my understanding, Russell Simmons pursued Kimora Lee back then. So, and she was young. Diddy pursued Misa Hilton allegedly, and she was young. Back then, it was a different era, you guys. Just like Jay-Z pursued Beyonce, and she was young. He had an eye on her, but the Knowles family was on top of it. But was they fully on top of it? But that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. Anyway, so yeah, this article further cites the suit says Miss Ventura never went to the police because she feared it would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to hurt her. Mr. Combs, who started Bad Boy in 1993, became one of the most powerful and successful figures in the hip-hop industry, working with stars like the Notorious B.I.G. and Mary J. Blige, and helping to transform rap music and culture into a global pop phenomenon and a major business. Still, his rise to fame has been dotted with allegations of violence, including that he and his bodyguards BEAT a rival music executive, Steve Stout, with a champagne bottle and other items. Yeah, I heard that back then, back in the day when we had them print magazines, so this is nothing new. This is always... Last year, Mr. Combs received a Lifetime Achievement honor at the BET Awards, and in September, he was given a Global Icon Award at MTV's Video Music Awards. Even with the settlement, however, the damage to Mr. Combs' reputation and legacy may be substantial. In the day since Ms. Ventura's suit was filed, past allegations of violence and AB have been resurfaced, and various musicians have publicly signaled their support for Ms. Ventura. I didn't see a lot of major media outlets covering this from an entertainment perspective, and I'm not talking about your CNNs, your NBCs, your New York Times, your WGNs, or your Fox Newses. I'm talking about media outlets covering this, saying they stand with Cassie. I didn't hear that. I didn't see a lot of blue check marks on X, formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, these, okay, let me start naming them. You got The Breakfast Club. They covered it a little bit. You got Power 92 or whatever. You got Ebro them. All these guys that grew up with Diddy in the industry who are on the radio. You got Gilly and Wallow. They come from the industry kind of like too now. You got Noriega. No one, I didn't hear them speak out and say and denounce. I didn't even hear the activists, this attorneys, the Ben Crumps, the Al Sharptons. I ain't heard nothing from them. Crickets. I didn't hear anything for Tamika Mallory or my son, the ambulance chasers. So yeah, so those people I didn't hear from on social media within the past 24 hours. Statement. Douglas Wegler, a lawyer for Ms. Ventura, said, "I am very proud of Ms. Ventura for having the strength to go public with her lawsuit. She ought to be commended for doing so." According to X, as you can see, ABC 7 Chicago Media News is reporting, Sean Diddy Combs and his ex-girlfriend Cassie reached a settlement one day after the R&B singer filed a lawsuit against the rapper, accusing him of trafficking and SA, according to court documents. Yeah, that civil complaint was explosive. It was based off of what was being read. And again, I didn't read it because I read excerpts of some article, what it was citing from that particular civil suit. What they're saying on X. Okay, this person, LOL, Sean Diddy Combs was scared of discovery. The male S workers verifying what Cassie said. The videos where you could hear him directing Cassie and the men, the photos. Yeah, he didn't want any of that public. This happened last night, so there's not a lot of, and I guess people wasn't up. Well, we know one thing for sure. He ain't innocent. Okay, this person said, all I'm gonna say, if I was the one being accused and I felt in my soul that I was innocent and being slandered, ain't no way in H I'm settling unless I know I'm guilty. I just know she cashed in 7 figures. I'm almost certain she got that full 30 million, probably more, probably with some extra on top. I believe, in my opinion, Cassie got that 30 million. What do you expect? Truth be told, not everyone that settles outside of court is guilty. Sometimes it's easier and cheaper just to settle, which is true. That's true as well. Both can be true. The person could be guilty as heck and settle, or the person could be not guilty and still settle, because that's what happens in instances too. Quick resolution. It seems Diddy and Cassie reached a settlement in a remarkably short time, only 2 days. Sometimes a swift resolution can be a positive step for both parties involved. He is not a good person. This speaks volume about the guy. I've been hearing what he's done to her. Didn't want to believe it. This sealed the deal. Literally 29 hours. Ish. Diddy was scared of that discovery through court becoming public. The man was jacking off while Cassie was having S with other men, and Diddy was probably doing some very suspect-ish with it was happening. He did not want that to get out. Pay up, homie. She probably didn't want to have to go through court air out all the details, relive it to the public just yet. Justice in her terms and move on. You come to that decision by her saying it's all good now because she got paid. She knows something else. This is not about this case. Settling doesn't mean guilty. When you look at the amount of money you can lose dealing with this, sometimes it's best to settle, and if it can be settled with money, it wasn't much of a crime. Nah, I don't agree with that. Nah, I don't agree with that. In part, I agree with the part that settling doesn't mean you're guilty, but nah. The last part, I don't agree with. Day, but heck, yeah, he guilty. It about money or responsibility? Or accountability, maybe they meant that. Because he is guilty, this person said that. Because he was fake news. Well, she left Ryan Leslie for 10 years of AB. Yeah, she was with an artist back then, Ryan Leslie. If you all, I mean, read the complaint at your own leisure, whatever, but she was actually dating someone when she met Diddy. You know, she did have a boyfriend too, so it's just, ooh, it's wild. This is wild. This is wild, you guys. Ooh, sheesh. Okay, everyone, there you have it. There you have it. Drop some comments in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Quick settlement. There's a lot to unpack, even just covering this less than 24 hours or slightly over 24 hours, quote unquote, settlement, undisclosed amounts, case sealed. That's how it's going to be. I touched on to you guys earlier about 2 reasons why I think Diddy settled. I think Diddy settled, like I was saying, 1, because of his family. 2, he didn't want to go through the discovery like people were saying. Because when you go through any type of civil case, it's witnesses after witnesses after witness. This will be a media freaking frenzy. I think this will be, what, we're in 2023. This will be the case of this decade, 20 to 2020 to 2030. This would probably be the case of the decade. It would have, like, at the end of this decade, this would have, if it would have went through court, trial, and all of that, it would have been a case of the decade, in my opinion. But yeah, Diddy didn't want to go through that because you have so many witnesses. You know how many people would have been called? Jay-Z probably would have been called. He probably got pressure from everybody like, Ninja, you better settle this. Settle it. His former artists, all of that. Just think about colleagues that never signed NDAs, who's in his space. Just think about that. They probably was on his line like, huh? So between his family, his kids, his daughters, his sons would have been adult sons, man, please. Incited in that civil complaint that one of his sons helped, I think, allegedly not take care of her, but attend to her. And he had told her to cover up, I guess, her bruises with more makeup because he didn't want his son, I don't know which son, to see her like that. So ooh, sheesh. Oh my gosh. So yeah, of course Diddy is going to settle. However, will there be criminal charges? Is this going to open a floodgate for people to speak up? In my opinion, you guys, I doubt that. This is done. Unless Diddy gets prosecuted for something totally different. This is done. This is done. Diddy will live the rest of his life until it's time, and we're all going to perish until God calls him. Trust me. I don't think Diddy would ever see a day in jail or prison. And as I stated before, Diddy will never get married. And yes, people probably want to know what's going on with Carisha. Carisha will remain silent and will remain his boo thing. Diddy is going on business as usual. Apparently, maybe he's in his space, acting his wrongs. And I don't know. You know, I'm not in his head. I'm not in, I'm not in his life. This is just my opinion. But yeah. So yeah, but let's talk about, I was going to go over the age topic. I'm going to go ahead and cut this short, you guys. I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm going to drop the links in the description section of this post. I did a topic on Marcus Houston, and I did a topic on Beyonce and Jay-Z, their age difference. Like I said, I come from that era, so guess my age if you want, whatever. But it was common back then. How do I feel about that? Having an age gap, and a relative and I had a conversation before briefly about it, and she like, why do these guys like older guys like the young women? You all need to Google Ronald Isley and his wife. I think she's 20 years younger than him, allegedly, but Google that. In my next video, I'm going to speak about that. We're going to talk about this age thing, because in my opinion, you guys, provided that it's a healthy relationship, meaning the person is not being abused and manipulated, sometimes it could work. A younger female with an older guy. And I come from that era, like I said, and then when I was in high school, I had some homegirls who love to date older guys. They weren't getting abused or anything, to my knowledge. They were not in drama. The older guys took very well care of them. Um, I guess maybe they were looking for like a father figure, and the older guys, make them feel comfortable and pleasant, and just a lot of that. It could have been some controlling behind the scenes. I don't know that, but again, these were homegirls. But I've had conversations back then with a couple homegirls when I was a teenager, and they were trying to tell me, oh, you should date an older guy, and you won't have to da 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 da. And older guys are more, less problematic, and this and that. And now if they're controlling, I don't know. I did briefly date an older guy. He was, I think, 4 or 5 years older than me. I don't know if that's a big difference. 6 years older than me. So, and to be honest, he was a nice guy. But my mom snapped. She tripped about that when she found out. I was like, and that was cut short. But he was, to be honest, he was a good guy. I promise you. And I don't think he experienced any, I don't think he was that type of guy, because I didn't date him for a long time. He wasn't that type of guy to put his hands on women and this and that. He courted you. He dated you. You know what I'm saying? I never heard of him abusing anyone. None of that. So even as I became a young adult, but he's no longer living, so since passed away. Like this video, you guys, share this video. Thank you all for tuning into the mix. Do a follow-up video on this. We're going to discuss age again, and I'm going to touch on the topics I cover, even including Diddy and Cassie, now. So, but there you have it. The case has been settled. And we won't hear anything from Cassie about this or her husband again. I promise you that. Shocked if we do. Depending on the details of that settlement. It's contingent on the details of that settlement. Because if she's been told not to write a book, then that's that. Depending on the contingencies of that settlement, we may not hear from her again. Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Damn near less than 24 hours. Diddy here you go, boo. Take it. I wish you all well. What do you think the reason why Diddy and Cassie settled? Especially Diddy. We're going to talk about Diddy. Why do you think Diddy settled? And do you think he gave her that full amount, or probably more, the 30 million or more? Like, share, subscribe to the mix, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.